GIFing is a popular way of expressing our feelings. Among the most popular are GIFs of Black people. But if you're white and you shared a GIF like this, then you just might be wearing digital blackface. So, digital blackface involves white people sharing images, videos, or voices of Black people to express their own emotions. But what could be so wrong with that? I mean, most of us understand how deeply disturbing it is for a white person to wear blackface for Halloween. But how could digital blackface be a thing? What could be so wrong with people using the digital expression of another person or another culture? Some people think that digital blackface is just another excuse to label white Americans as racist. So, to understand why it's wrong, we need to understand why blackface is so offensive. Critics say it's wrong because it's a modern-day type of minstrelsy. Blackface describes a practice that began in the 19th century when white male actors would blacken their faces with burnt cork to mock the physical characteristics and mannerisms of Black people. They called this theatrical performance the minstrel show, or minstrelsy.
Well, Mr. Tambo, you seem to be enjoying yourself this evening.
Enjoying myself? I sure is.
It was initially created in 1828 by a white actor named Thomas Rice. Thomas became famous for his exaggerated impersonation of a disabled Black man dancing. His character became the Black stereotype known as Jim Crow. Mocking Black people became a theatrical sensation. What started as a one-man show by Thomas Rice quickly became the most popular theatrical performance across America. By 1843, groups of white men performed in blackface. Their entire shows were made up of comic skits, dance, and songs all about Black people. And white supremacy used the minstrel shows to justify slavery because the performances convinced people that Black Americans were less intelligent, less valuable, and less human. And to add insult to injury, Black performers were required to blacken their faces to make the white audience feel comfortable. Even though the Civil War eventually led to the end of slavery, the Jim Crow character that Thomas created for laughs became the Jim Crow laws that legitimized anti-Black racism. Jim Crow created a new form of slavery that lasted from 1877 to the mid-1960s. We know people who lived during the mid-1960s, so the end of Jim Crow laws was not that long ago. To make matters worse, white advertisers and white-owned companies frequently used images of Black people to sell their products. In 1931, a newspaper suggested that smooth sandstones and boulders were called niggerheads because of their fancy resemblance in color and hardness to a Negro's head. The word niggerhead became a popular name for many places across America. You may remember the controversy involving Governor Rick Perry from Texas. In 2012, Rick Perry was among the top candidates for the Republican presidential nomination, until it was discovered that he hosted an event at his family's hunting camp. And at the entrance of the camp, painted in block letters, was the name Niggerhead. Even though Rick Perry didn't name the lodge, the fact that he kept the name raised questions about his racial views. So what does any of this have to do with digital blackface? Well, Digital blackface is a thing because many Americans still view blackness as a commodity, as entertainment, and as a joke. Would it be appropriate for the Washington Commanders to change their name again to the White Caucasians? Would it be appropriate for Beyoncé to paint her skin white and call herself Dolly Parton? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. But seriously, that kind of thinking is worse than ridiculous when white people do it to minorities. Attached to digital blackface is a history that Black Americans cannot afford to ignore. To ignore digital blackface is to ignore the instance of racism that Black people still experience today. So if you're a white person and you're thinking about sending a GIF, then you may want to ask yourself, am I always reaching for blackface to express myself? And is this GIF better because it's black? If the answer is yes, then you should go for a Taylor Swift GIF instead.